I want to speak about something interesting I came across up there in Evanston, Illinois, where they're facing a legal battle now for the nation's first reparations program. And it's not really a reparations program, it's a housing program for people that were black people that were faced discriminatory housing practices. So it's not really a reparations program, but uh, it could be a good start, but it's just a drop in the bucket in the large scheme of things because we need those cash reparations where we will be able to, as foundational Black Americans, get a massive leg up in this society. Not just a few little people out of the group, but the bulk of our group get a massive leg up. But this sister was on here talking about it. This older sister, I believe her name was Delores Homes, and she was 80 some years old. So she's seen a lot of no good rotten things, especially when it comes to our people, foundational Black Americans, in their lifetime. So I'm gonna play the NBC News segment audio, and then we're gonna slowly walk through and talk about this thing.
Tonight, just north of the Democratic National Convention, residents in Evanston, Illinois are gearing up for a legal fight over the nation's first reparations program. It's a program that residents like 87-year-old Delores Homes say is righting historic wrongs.
We bought this house in 1961. You couldn't get a mortgage because the banks wouldn't give you mortgages.
The banks wouldn't loan you money. Why?
Because you're Black. What else? What else?
The news reporter asked her, so the banks wouldn't lend you money, and our sister Delores, she kept it 100. She said, it's because we were Black, they wouldn't lend us the money. We had the jobs and everything, and that type of thing still goes on to this day. Case in point, if anyone remembers just a year or two ago, that Navy Federal Credit Union was denying Black folks mortgage loans, and they were overly qualified and giving them to white people that weren't even qualified at all. But let's continue on.
We had jobs.
Fair use.
Decades ago, like many Black people, Holmes says she and her family were pressured and limited to buying property in the city's Fifth Ward. It was a crowded, segregated neighborhood with less valuable land and areas on the shores of Lake Michigan, and banks often refused to loan money to Black families like hers. Today, nationwide, just 45% of Black Americans own their homes, compared with 74% of white Americans. According to the U.S.
They say 45% of Black families own their homes compared to 74% of white families. And this is done by design. It ain't to say that we can't own homes, but we're just, they subject us to not being able to get housing loans. We face discrimination, like what we were just talking about with the Navy Federal Credit Union. They try to keep us down as a permanent underclass, so we can't, catch up and right some of these wrongs. They want us to stay that permanent underclass. But let's continue.
When you think about what could have been, what comes to mind?
Well, the first thing is I would have loved to own this whole block instead of having someone who didn't even live in our community who bought it and developed it. Why couldn't we have done that? But
you hear what that sister said? 80 some years old. Our sister Delores said she would have loved to buy the whole block. And who knows what this sister could have turned out to be if she would have had that opportunity, but they wouldn't give her no loans during the time. She could have been one of the biggest entrepreneurs up there in Evanston, Illinois, putting other Black people on. And that's the thing that they don't want to see us be able to do is put our people on, because they know if a good bit of us get in the door, we're going to kick the door down for all of our people, because we got that kind of mind and that resilience and that fighting spirit inside of us as foundational Black Americans. And they want us to just stay on the bottom and be marginalized and suppressed. But let's continue.
Yeah, stop. Absolutely. You think it's because of racism? Absolutely.
Since 20.
She said the news reporter asked her, you think it's because of racism? Ain't no thinking involved. That sister Delores called it right down the middle. Absolutely. She knows it's because of racism, and I'm in agreement with her. But let's continue.
193 Black residents of the city have received a one-time $25,000 reparations payment.
They're saying 100 and some residents in this Evanston received $25,000 reparations payment. But keep in mind, they're not getting $25,000 because the thing, when I did my research, what I read is up to $25,000 family. And this ain't a reparations payment at all. It's more like a housing discrimination that Black Americans faced. Is trying to right that wrong. But I guess it's a start, but it's nowhere where we need to be. We need those cash reparations so massively we could get a leg up our whole group of people, not just a little group here of foundational Black Americans, there of foundational Black Americans. We massively need a leg up. It's by far time. We've been suppressed and oppressed way too long, and our ancestors as foundational Black Americans built this nation called America. No, if it wasn't for us, there would have been no America. They tried on their own. They failed miserably, and we need compensated for the slavery and all the injustices that we faced that went along with that, the redlining, the Jim Crow, the lynching of Black folks, men and women. You know, we faced all kind of atrocities under the sun here in America, and we fought in every war. And America is indebted to foundational Black Americans, if you ask me. But let's continue.
Evanston is now preparing to defend that program in court. The conservative group Judicial Watch is suing the city on behalf of 6 non-Black residents.
So this Judicial Watch is suing the city on behalf of 6 non-Black residents. They don't even want them to be able to get these so-called $25,000 home loans. And, you know, they don't want foundational Black Americans to have a damn thing. And we ain't going for that no more. You know, it's fine when all these other groups of people, the Jewish people get reparations, the red Native Americans get reparations, all these immigrants coming in here get these EBT cards with thousands of dollars on it, put up in hotels and motels. But the first sight of a foundational Black American getting anything, these no good bastards want to have a hissy fit, and damn that. But let's continue.
They argue the program is unconstitutional because it excludes people based on race.
They're using race.
See, we know we can't use race. Brother Tariq Nasheed said that in our reparations claim. That's why we got to make it lineage-based, foundational Black Americans, descendants of freedmen, because they just trying to make it race-based so it could get shot down, you know, because they know they can't make it race-based, because if it was race-based, any Black person in this whole world would be saying they're entitled to reparations here in America. We can't have that because we were a specific group harmed here in America from slavery and all sorts of atrocities. We suffered the red line and the Jim Crow, and no other group had that claim, not here in America, but foundational Black Americans. Let's continue.
Discrimination to stop the generalized effects of race discrimination in the past. And that's not the way to do it. It generates division, resentment, and it's unlawful.
And what's the best way to do it then?
The best way to do it is to stop race discrimination, treat people according to their merit, enforce a colorblind constitution.
You'll never be able to stop race-based discrimination because that's the way they set it up, and you'll never be able to make things colorblind because they specifically marginalized us as a group as foundational Black Americans. They never really intended for us to get up, but you know, we keeping this reparations thing in the lexicon and we ain't letting up off of it. And we hear this narrative being pushed all the time from white folks and immigrants, people that weren't oppressed by the U.S. government in such a way as foundational Black Americans. They love to say, well, my family didn't own slaves. I wasn't even here when slavery occurred. But you came to America, and foundational Black American slave laborers will build America. So America's on the hook, and whatever that looks like, that's whatever that looks like. You know, y'all ain't in charge of that. And damn y'all who are speaking against reparations, because we're going to get it because it's the right thing to do, and America must produce it. And America, truth be told, she ain't never going to be right until she atones for that original sin, which is slavery and the unjust treatment of foundational Black Americans. Until that is done, she's going to be up under divine judgment, meaning she's going to be judged by the universe, is going to hold her accountable. And we eventually going to get our reparations because it's what's rightfully owed, and we ain't letting our foot up off the damn gas pedal. Just my thoughts on the matter, but I will have to watch and see what goes on out there in Evanston, Illinois, because this could be, you know, a catalyst for more things to unfold, because we're hearing all throughout America now, people setting up reparations committees, but ain't nobody really talking a hardcore dollar amount. We need them to stop dragging their legs and really come up out of that bank account and print that money up, because they print it up for all these other illegal immigrants and all this other nonsense, giving money to other countries, give it to the people that rightfully owe foundational Black Americans. Peace.